Hey, I'm Scotty T from Your Comedy Minute. I've got a multi-talented young man, Erik Escobar. Am I saying that right, Erik?
You say it perfect. Erik is pronounced great. I love it.
Escobar? Tell me the last name. How do you say
Escobar
it?
is wonderful. You
Erik
got it.
Escobar, a multi-talented young man. You're in Los Angeles, right, Erik?
I am in Los Angeles area. That is Southern California.
Were you born and raised in California?
I was born in a little town called Gardena, close to a little place called
Okay,
Carson, close to Compton. So it's one of
right,
those things where if you tell people, "Hey, I'm from Gardena," they're like, "What are you talking about?" When you say you're
right,
from
right,
LA,
right.
they get the picture. They know the general area.
Okay, so you were born and raised in California, and because I have to go in order because there's so much stuff that you've done. It's just an absolute amazing amount of stuff. But so let's start with when did you first start doing comedy,
You know what? My dad loved jokes. My dad loved
right?
jokes. So I remember when I was growing up, he would always tell jokes to people, tell jokes to people he met. So
Right.
loving comedy, liking comedy was always kind of in my soul and my
Sure.
blood. In high school, I started doing improv, a little bit of theater. In college, I started doing stand up, and I was about maybe 19, 20 years old when I started doing stand up, and I never looked back since.
Okay. And I apologize for my ignorance. So 19, and what does that mean? How many years have you been doing it now?
I've been probably doing it close to about 14 years, give or take.
Wow.
I know. I'm an old
No,
man.
no, 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 because I just did one the other day with a guy that 14 years he's been doing it.
Wow, it's wild. It's crazy because I feel like the longer you're in it, when you're in it for 5, 6 years, you're like, whoa, what an accomplishment. I've been doing this for a while. After you hit
Right.
about 10, 15, you're kind of like, you know what? I'm not even counting anymore. This is
Right.
fun, but let's keep partying. Let's just keep going.
Right. No, and the fellow that I did, he's actually in Pennsylvania, and he's not much into the social media stuff because he said, "Look, I just enjoy touring around the country and I'm making a good living." And he's not about becoming, in other words, if it happens, great, but he's just
Yeah.
enjoying doing the craft.
Mhm. And I think that's an interesting thing about it too. The longer you're in kind of this game, the more you find out what specific things you really like. Some people, they work at clubs. They don't want to be on TV. They don't want to do cruises. They don't want
Right.
to do whatever. Clubs are a thing.
Right.
Other people, they're like, "Hey, I'm a TV guy. I want to get my late show. I want to get my game show." So they're working on
Right.
that path, but they might not do a ton of clubs or cruises
Right.
or college or whatever. We're all kind of figuring this out in different ways, but we're all under the same umbrella. We're all trying to make it work.
Well, I think that you brought up a great point there because there are comedians that I'm doing that are just stand-up comedians that don't do the TikTok videos or the Instagram reels and that kind of thing, that aren't very, let's say social media savvy. And, I think they kind of, like you say, there's almost two different schools there.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that, Erik?
My feeling is play to your strengths. I feel
Right,
like if you are someone who's been doing traditional stand up for a long time, likes going on the road, likes doing stand up, maybe doesn't know too much about social media.
right,
Hey, if your strength is rocking the stage and doing clubs, do that. Hey, if you're a 17-year-old comic and you may not have gone on the road, but you know exactly how to do a TikTok, do a work social media, hey, try to get some good social media content. I feel like no matter what we're doing, we're always trying to find the balance. You know what I mean? We're trying to
yeah,
find the balance between doing the social media, doing the work, going on stage, going on the road, sending
right.
our emails. So I ultimately feel like play to your strengths. If the social media thing works for you, keep doing it. If it doesn't, what is the thing that works for you? As long as we're all trying everything we can and do the best of what we can, hopefully it works out.
Well, that's great advice because that segues right into, and I have a lot of it written down. But do you want to
Woo!
go through? Do you want to go through? Because I mean, you've been on so many different shows and so much different stuff. You opened for Jerry Seinfeld at one point,
Yeah, that was in the East Coast, and nothing checks your ego and checks your humility as much as you go up and you bomb for 10, 20 minutes, and then Seinfeld goes up and he says nothing and gives a 5 minute standing ovation. It is wild. You'll pour your heart and soul to your best material, the things that you know works. You're gonna do okay, but he's just gonna stand up there and he's gonna get everyone in the audience crying and clapping and
Right.
so happy without even saying a word. It's a very magical experience.
Well, do you want to run through the shows? I mean, because it's just a unbelievable amount of stuff that you've done.
Yeah, in terms of stuff I have coming up or stuff that I've been on.
The stuff that you've been on. I mean, like I say, I have a whole list of stuff here.
Totally.
Last Comic
So
Standing, Epix, Hulu. You had a TED Talk.
ton of fun
I
stuff. My
can.
most recent thing that I'm really proud of is I was on Fuse TV. They did a special called Fresh Faces, a
I have
comedy.
that. I have that written down.
It's great. I've been doing this 15 years, so I don't know how fresh my face is, but I was very happy to do it. That was exciting. Um, Last Comic Standing was really fun. I did that when I was a little younger, and that
Right.
was a trip. The TED Talk was obviously really fun. I think the thing that I wouldn't say I'm known for, but a lot of people are like, "Oh, you're that guy." Is over a few years, I just lucked into doing a bunch of game shows. So I
Yeah.
might
No.
have
Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm
oh,
sorry.
I
I don't
saw
want
you
to
on that
interrupt.
game show, that game show, that game show. And I never got in this game to be like, I want to be the game show guy. But I think it's really fun that I got to do, like Let's Make a Deal and I Can See Your Voice and People Puzzler and
Yeah,
Switch, all those. That
that
was a
was
fun
one I
time.
wrote down because I can see your voice. That's just recent. That's out now.
That is, I think it's in its maybe third season, maybe fourth. And it's wild because I was actually on it not as a contestant, but actually as one of the singers. So it
Right.
was super weird being on that side because instead of competing for money, you're like almost helping them with the money. And I liked it. It was a really thrilling experience.
Yeah, well, and I should have started with it, but you call yourself, and again, apologize for my the premier Mexipino comedian.
But you know what? I'm a humble man. Let's just go with Mexipino. We don't gotta say premiere.
No,
We can just be like,
I want the whole thing.
I love it, man. You're my number one fan. I can feel it. You're my fellow Filipino kuya. I can tell with the tan.
I actually am a little scared.
A little scared. Why? We're good. We don't bite.
You know,
We have delicious
isn't
adobo in
Escobar?
Manila.
Wasn't there an Escobar that was kind of famous?
You know what's crazy? I just heard this recently. I guess there's two types of Escobars. First Escobar,
There's two
powerful,
types of
Colombian,
Escobars. There's two
scary.
types.
The
I
other
hope
Escobar,
hey, Eric, I hope you're the good kind.
I'm the kind. I'm the good kind. So you have the Colombian Escobars, which are tied to the very powerful name. And then in Mexico, I guess after World War II, a lot of people fled to Mexico to, not be persecuted or killed or whatever. So a lot of them became like custodial people and took the last name Escobar because Escobar is to sweep, to clean. So it's
Okay.
funny in Colombia, it means you're a strong, powerful person. In Mexico, it means like you're a housekeeper or a custodian.
Two
You're
types of
either
Escobars.
strong and evil or like really nice trying to flee evil and just like to clean. I don't know which one I am, but I think I'm going to hang out with my service industry people. It seems like more my breed, more my
Well,
breed, more my type of guy.
if you don't know, um, I'm only telling you this. I don't know if I should do it, but I feel like I have to
Go for it.
because you call it Mexipino comedian. One of my jokes, and it's weird because I've been working 4.5 years over on YouTube trying to, and back around October, November, I'll never forget it. My phone kept going off. What the hell's going on with my phone?
Okay.
My phone kept going off, and over on Instagram, a joke that was up, it was actually up for like 2 weeks. All of a sudden, people, I guess, started sharing it or whatever. And before you know it, it was up to, I think it's up to about 300,000 views.
Wow.
And here we go. Hold on to something. Do you know what the joke is?
Go for it. I want to hear it live right here. I'm not
Okay.
getting a recording. I want the live
No,
version.
no, no, no. And I think I know why. If I had a nickel for every racist thing I ever said, some Mexican would probably rob me.
You know what? A variety of races like to rob, but definitely my Mexican side will try to take a couple dollars out of your pocket. I swear. Just
Well,
half of
no,
it. Just half.
and
Half.
that's why I'm going to bring it full circle because when you get 300,000 views or whatever, there are a lot of comments,
Yeah.
and there were certain Escobar family members that said they were coming. The cartel was coming to my house.
Whoa. Hey, that's not my side. All right. That's the other side. All right. those are the angry cousins. We're the
I
chill
was
ones
just
who just
okay.
smoke
So you think
Friday
I'm
and
gonna make
Thanksgiving.
it through this interview okay?
Don't worry, don't worry. I don't think I can shank through the computer, but I've tried and it just made me get a new laptop.
Well, no, I'm just kidding you, and I hope I didn't offend you. It's it's one of those things. I've told people about that because it's pretty wild that it happened,
Yeah.
and I think it's a sign of the times here in the U.S. with all the border crossing and the migrants, and I just saw the other day about the what do they call it now? I'm going to forget the influencer that's a migrant influencer. Did you hear about that guy?
Oh, interesting. I've seen, I don't know if it's the same one you're talking about, but I know there's like influencers coming from their place and they're like, well, if I get deported or I go back, like I'm
Well,
an
he
influencer.
has like a 500,000 followers,
Jeez Louise.
and they put him in jail because he was flaunting it that come here and you can squat, and he was showing wads of cash that he doesn't work. The government sent him 300 a month and this and that, and
Yeah.
it just like I said, I think that's why that joke blew up.
Hmm. Well,
But
also I feel like today it's very getting viral is really interesting because I feel you can have a joke that's funny in a community or whatever. But then when it gets bigger, there's more ears and there's more eyes on it. You know what I mean? Like
right,
I think there's a lot of jokes that can be taken in an offensive way, no matter how offensive or not offensive they are. I could
right,
have a joke about, I could have a poop joke, or I could have a joke about a dog, and it could be
right.
the simplest joke ever. But if I send it to a million people, there's
Yeah,
going to be at least one or a couple that's going to be like, hey, don't make fun of IBS. You know what I mean?
yeah,
That's
yeah. That's a
that's something
great
that
point,
we
Eric.
can't fight about. Like you're talking about me. Like, I got it too. What are you? I'm making fun of everyone.
That's a
I think
great point. Well,
it is a smaller world.
just yesterday I had somebody get into me and say, "Well, that's racist," and I said, "Look, it's a joke," and they come back again, and you know how it is online. If you go back, then they come back, and finally, like the second time, I said, "Look, I'm not going to fight with you.
Yeah.
I grew up on Archie Bunker and Don Rickles,
Mhm.
and they went after everybody. They went after Irish, and
Yeah.
so it's weird to me. There's some people that I just don't think have a sense of humor.
Mhm.
Would you agree with that? That some people just don't, or like
My,
you just said, the IBS guy. That's a great analogy.
yeah. My take on that is whether or not you have a sense of humor. If you come and see me at a club and you don't like me and you thought my IBS joke was too offensive or something like that, you know what? I'm getting paid the same no matter what. You bought my ticket to see my show. I'm
Right.
paying my rent this month. I'm doing what I need to do to pay my bills. If you don't like it, you just spent $20 plus a 2 item minimum not having a good time. That's your deal.
That's
I'm
on
gonna be up
you.
here telling my
That's on
jokes,
you.
making what
Right.
people laugh. You know what I mean? Like that's my thing. I think it's interesting too because if you didn't have a, I'll put it this way: if you think things are a little more offensive or if things do hurt you in that way, I think it's interesting why you would go and see a show without researching the comic. That's the interesting thing. Because a lot of times I've seen people buy tickets to a show like that guy was so offensive, or I didn't like he was talking about
Right.
Filipinos because I'm Filipino and I'm like my whole act is being Filipino. It's like how did you bought tickets? My name was on the website. My name was on the flat. You could have looked me up. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
Right. Right.
so it's interesting. It's like you can be, you have the right to be offended of what you ever want to be offended with. That's okay. That's fine. But if you don't do the homework to come see a show, if you're gonna get mad at me for seeing a show, hey, that's on you. And I already got that ticket money. So I hope you have a nice
I
night.
got the money. I
Take
got the
care.
money. Do
Yeah.
you do a lot of Filipino jokes? Do you do a lot of
I do. Being Filipino, Mexican American, it's part of my culture, what I grew up with. So obviously, when we write a lot of things that we know about.
right?
I will say I will turn it up depending where I am. Like
Okay.
sometimes if I'm in, let's just say somewhere in Tennessee. I love Tennessee. They're a fun place to work, but they don't have a lot of Filipinos. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Right. Right.
probably not
Right.
going to do an hour of Filipino
Yeah.
material in
Right. Right. Right.
Pigeon Forge. But
Right.
if I'm doing like a weird like nursing convention where I'm randomly just at there and there's a ton of Filipinos, hey, let's bust it out. If
Yeah,
I'm in,
right.
South LA where there's a lot of Latinos, I'm gonna do a bit more Mexican material. So I
Yeah.
do it, but I gear it towards where I am and what I think they'll like.
That makes a lot of sense. I've done a bit about that where the first time I went to North Carolina is the first time I ever heard the word fixing.
Oh, fixing for
Hey, buddy, ain't nobody fixing to do nothing quick around here.
exactly, yeah.
And that's where they called me a Yankee. They kept
Oh,
calling me a Yankee because they said,
that,
"Where you from, boy?" I'd say, "I'm from York, Pennsylvania." "Well, you're a goddamn Yankee," and I'm like, "The Civil War ended how long ago? The hell is wrong with you?"
not for them, Scott. Not for
No,
them.
no, man. When you get down North Carolina, South Carolina, man, them boy, they ain't playing.
Yeah.
I
Quick
had to apologize to a guy. I was in the music business, which I want to touch on that
mhm.
with you. But I was in the music business and I was selling records. Whitney Houston, R. Kelly. I was working for BMG, which you worked for Universal. But I
I
was
did.
working. I was selling records, and I think I was pushing Tony Braxton or something. And the guy in Richmond, he said, "Oh, I'm just going to take 90." I said, "90? What the hell are you talking about? This is a hit record." Before you know it, he hung up the phone on me. And I had to drive to Richmond the next day and apologize to the guy
Wow.
because I'm used to Philadelphia. I'm used to swearing at people. I'm used to, "Look, you stupids,"
Yeah.
and that didn't fly. And from that day forward, man, honest, Eric, I never, every time I'd call him, like, "Well, how many do you want?" I never once pushed him again.
Yeah. It was nice to him.
Well,
You're
just because, you learn.
yeah. You said where do you say you're out of currently?
Where am I from?
Yeah, where are you from right now? Or where do you
I'm
live right
from
now?
my mother and my dad's nutsack.
Oh, whoa. You know what? I got a roommate who actually you might know. Same area. Same cul-de-sac, actually. Around the
No,
same suburbs.
I,
Yeah.
I'm from York, Pennsylvania, where the men are men and the sheep are scared.
I love it.
Yeah,
I'm just real quick aside, I'm a big wrestling fan. I've been a big
I was
wrestling fan
gonna I was
my
gonna
life.
touch on that.
WrestleMania was just it was in Pennsylvania this year.
Yeah,
I don't know if you saw a
yeah.
lot of wild and crazy going on lately out there, but happy WrestleMania. Go
I've
Pennsylvania.
seen you in a skimpy outfit climbing into the ring.
That's me. And that was for fun. That was even for wrestling. That was just
Yeah,
it
that
was
was.
just Tuesday night.
Tell the people about that because I watched part of that today and I said, "Oh my god!"
I'm such a big wrestling fan, and I think manifestation is a real thing. Hoping for something, getting it is a real thing. Working really hard and getting those fruits of your labor is a real thing.
Sure,
So I've
sure,
worked, and I've hoped to be in a lot of wrestling things.
right,
So over on the East Coast, actually in Maryland, there's a great group called Big Time in Comedy. They got a thing called Comedy, where comics and wrestlers they come together, do some fun shows, do a big
right.
show once a year. I did that. I used to work for Lucha Underground, Impact Wrestling, Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. I've done some comedy and worked with them. So I am very tied into the wrestling world. As a fan, it's something that's really magical. Growing up with something you love, and now you get to work and see some of the guys who make it happen. So it's been a really cool journey. And I'm really grateful to have had that in my life.
Yeah, I was a big wrestling fan when I was a kid. It was totally different then. I mean, I'll name a couple of names that you probably Haystacks Calhoun, Chief Jake
Oh, nice.
Strongbow,
Mm-hmm.
Gorilla Monsoon.
Yeah.
That was your early days of wrestling. My dad
That
loved
was
it.
that was early WWF days.
Wrestling. My dad would call it wrestling. Go to
Wrestling.
wrestling. Bruno San
No,
Martino.
they call it the graps now, like the grapple. Like they
Yeah,
call it, oh, you're gonna watch the graps? And I'm like, what a weird thing to call it.
right.
Were you ever a fan, being from, Pennsylvania, were you ever a fan of the Eastern Championship Wrestling,
Yeah,
ECW?
I remember that as it was well.
Because that was real big in your neck of the woods. Us in the
Yeah.
West Coast, we kind of got, WWF a little bit. In the South, WCW was big, but out
Yeah.
there, WWF, ECW, that was real cool. Cool time to be alive.
Nowadays, my goodness, it's huge. Fox every Friday night.
Yeah,
Unbelievable spectacle.
it's wild. They are signing wrestlers for enormous amounts of money, which I'm all
Yeah.
for. If you're an artist, whatever artist you are,
Yeah.
and you're
Yeah.
raising the bar and
Sure.
making more money, that just means all us creatives are going to make more money. That's great. People are valuing your work more. But it's insane to be like, oh man, this is just what this much money is coming through your doors. I just saw yesterday, I was watching WrestleMania with my wife, And she was like, "What do you think a seat costs on the front row? Look it up. Sometimes those goes for like $3, $4, $5,000.
Yeah.
$5,000 times 100 seats down there. You're making, $500,000 just on the front row. That's
And they're filling
insane."
big stadiums. Well, let's kind of shift gears because I think it
Yeah,
ties in the Universal Music Group. And when I saw that, I immediately, a little bit jump because I was like, well, I worked in the
go for it.
music business, and
Me too.
it just, I think those things, I always call it poison cocktail. Hollywood movie stars, music stars, and now even wrestling stars, whatever, where a huge amount of money,
It's wild.
transpires. I guess my question is at Universal, first off, what was your job capacity at Universal?
So I was working with Universal. I started as an intern, and then I got hired part-time while I was in college. And I
Okay.
was actually their college and lifestyle marketing rep. So I was a
Yeah.
part-time marketing representative, specifically focused on the college market, trying to get that music in the ears and in the minds of everyone kind of my age in that demographic.
Yeah, that's what I
And
did
it
when
was
I
fun.
started. I did field marketing rep,
Did you ever do
field
the
marketing rep in Philadelphia. And it's
FMR? I
funny,
got
it's
you,
funny how
baby.
you
Did you
said
ever do the blitzes? Say that again. I'm sorry.
oh no, the blitzes, no. But when you said something there that people don't realize, you're trying to get in the heads of people.
Yeah.
When I was working Dave Matthews Band, Dave started out selling records out of Charlottesville, Virginia. And there was a bidding war, and RCA got him. And all of a sudden we turned Crash into a big. And now Dave's sells out. But it's just or like a Tony Braxton or whatever. When I launched Tony Braxton, they're like, "Who's Tony Braxton?" And look at where Tony ended up.
Yeah.
Or Whitney
It's
Houston or R. Kelly. Or it's funny now because I met Diddy. I had dinner with Will Smith. I had dinner with R. Kelly, and I'm starting
yeah.
to think I might be bad luck.
You know what? You're good luck. They're the bad ones. If anything, you made them a little extra good. I would hope. After meeting you, I think the joy
No,
and the
I'm
positivity is
joking
radiant.
because I met L.A. Reid, Babyface, Clive Davis. If you go to my Facebook page, you'll see all those. But it's
Yes.
just that music business thing. Boy, that's pretty crazy stuff.
It's wild how different it is. Because honestly, I think being a marketing rep in the music industry really showed me a lot of things that I use in comedy
Yeah,
now. So I'm really happy I took those things. For example, we would have these marketing tools,
yeah,
posters, physical albums, whatever. I remember one time we had some artists, I forgot what, but they had lighters. They had little lighters with their name on
yeah.
them. I do that for merch now. I do Erik Escobar lighters because I remember seeing lighters when I was a marketing rep and being like, those are really effective. People like lighters.
Okay. And you
Um,
have a hat on there, Eric? Do you want to show the
I do
people?
have an Erik Escobar hat that's pretty good. Hopefully the shine isn't ruining the zoom too
That's
much.
right. No, and
But yeah, I
look,
got the Erik Escobar hat, got the
believe it or
Filipino sign.
not, Eric, the reason I bring that up is I finally my guy did all my stuff, and he's a wonderful young man. He did it all for free. We've been friends for 20 years or so. Used
Nice.
to run Kiss's fan club, Joan Jett's fan club, and he put all this together for free for me. And I asked him about hats, and he said, "Well, you can't get them yet. You have to sell so much." And so I asked him last week, so I finally have your Comedy Minute hats coming. I can get rid of this stupid Simpsons hat.
Nice.
But do you sell shirts? Do you sell shirts and
I used to sell shirts. I stopped selling them only because I'm on the road so much.
right?
And
Yeah,
shirts can be great. If you sell a ton of shirts, oh man, the money is great. But what I was coming into is I would have to sacrifice carry-on space or luggage space to bring
yeah.
shirts. Or I would check in the box of search for 40, $50 or whatever. And then after you do that, if you don't sell at least 3 shirts, you're just out money. So
Yeah,
for me, it was more of a hassle than it's worth. I like my stickers. I like my hats. I like my lighters. I like
good.
things where I can put them all in a fanny pack or a backpack, and it's like
Okay. We'll
low
we'll
area
we'll mention
service.
all your now you're on. I have the YouTube numbers here: 98 subscribers, 97 videos, 9,599 views.
Real good stuff. I like it.
I'll mention YouTube, or in other words, when I air this interview, I will put your YouTube channel. I will put Facebook. I will put, or you have Instagram, TikTok, or you have those two?
I'm an Instagram guy. I like my Instagram.
No TikTok?
I have a TikTok. I probably have like 4 TikToks on there, and I'm on it
Okay.
maybe once every 4 months.
Well, I'll put whatever link you want me to put in. We'll
You
talk
got it,
about it
buddy.
when it comes time to air it. But I just wanted to touch on that because I think it's important to try and let people know everything. And you say Instagram, and you have a huge following on Instagram now that I think about it.
I like Instagram. I think kind of like what I said earlier, play to your strength. If you're great on TikTok, TikTok it up. If you're great at, public speaking, go teach public speaking, whatever it is.
Right.
For me, I wouldn't say I'm like, I figured out Instagram, I know what it is, but that's the format I just feel the most comfortable with. I like it.
Right.
It's fun. So that's kind of where I usually send people to check me out.
Instagram.
Mhm.
And how many, pardon my ignorance, because I didn't get a lot of time to get over there. Are
Okay.
is it videos of your stand up or is it bits, or like clips?
You know what? I am trying to post more stand-up videos now than I've ever had in my career or in having Instagram or having social media.
Okay.
I don't know about you. I hate listening to myself. I hate my voice. I hate watching video
Oh,
back.
yeah.
It's just it's annoying. So for the longest time, I either didn't record, would record, and I would never check it out. This year, I was like, Eric, you got to put some bits up there. People want to see your stuff.
Yeah.
People are booking you and they have no idea what your stuff is. So more recently, I've been starting to put up more comedy stuff. I think
Yeah.
personally, I really like weirder and different things. I'm
Okay.
not anti crowd work. I'm not anti whatever. I'm not pro whatever. I just think like anything that's a little different is fun to showcase. So I feel like I'm posting a lot of the weird things that happen at my shows. I might improvise a song. I'm gonna post that. I might have a sing along. I might post that. I
Okay.
get all the weird sound effects that I make in a show, and I'm gonna post all the weird sound effects with no reference or point of reference of like where this is coming from. So I'm doing a lot of weird stuff. I'm still figuring it out,
Well,
navigating it, but just
not to
recently started
interrupt you, but
posting jokes.
you also do balloon stuff, right?
How do you? Whoa, you're like Nardwar. How do you know about this? I'm a balloon artist. I've been doing it since I was in 6th grade. Yeah, that's
I listen, Eric. I want to tell you something. When it comes to doing these, I feel there's a certain amount of respect should be paid
I
to
appreciate it.
that person that I'm doing it with because, like, I'll just say this. I did one with the other day, and I called him a comedy legend, and he was like, "Comedy legend." I said, "Bud, in my world, you sold jokes to Rodney Dangerfield, you sold jokes to Phyllis Diller, you sold jokes to Joan Rivers, you sold jokes to these people. Damn, if that's not a comedy legend, I don't know what is."
That's wild, man.
Yeah, But
That's cool.
now what's funny, Eric, the majority of kids, if any kids look at this, are like, who the hell is he talking about? Who's Dangerfield? Who's Phyllis Diller? Who's Joan Rivers,
I got a quick Phyllis Diller story for you. I
Wonderful.
was maybe 22, 23 years old doing comedy for, I don't know, a few years, 4 years or whatever. I still am so obsessed with comedy. I love it. I'm a student of the game. I always want to learn more, see more. I'm taking a clown workshop next week just to see what that's all about. The point being, I remember there was this documentary I fell in love with. It was a 5-part documentary on Comedy Central, and it was the top 100 comics. And every
I
episode
remember
in
it.
this docu-series, they would have 20 comics, and they would get a legend to come in and do some commentary. And in one of the episodes, Phyllis Diller is the special guest. She comes in, they shoot it at Cantor's Deli in Hollywood, and she
Okay.
orders a beefeater martini with a twist. And I thought Phyllis Diller was so cool. She's such a
Yeah.
badass, such a funny, powerful, strong human being that for the next 3, 4 years, I only ordered a beefeater martini with a twist. Like my cocktail, my go-to cocktail, I only got because I saw Phyllis Diller order it once on a
Yeah.
TV show, and I was like, "She's the coolest. That's my drink." So my
I
drink of
met,
choice, fired by Phyllis.
yeah, I mean, I've been blessed. I had a conversation with George Carlin. I met Rodney Dangerfield, Stephen Wright, Lewis Black. I got to meet a lot of my, favorite comedians. But no, it's just funny how, and I equate it to the music business. I'm friends with the guys in Cheap Trick, so
Oh,
therefore I'm
nice.
a big fan of Cheap Trick.
Mhm.
If I had known the guys in Van Halen, I might have been a big fan of Van Halen. I mean, I still love Van Halen, but you know what I mean.
Well, also on that point, what I think is really interesting is a lot of people might ask you as a comedian, like, oh, who's your favorite comic? Who are you listening to? Who do you like? And honestly, my answer, it tends to be kind of like what you're saying, friends. Like,
Yeah,
God
yeah,
bless
yeah.
all the big comics, but I'm not being like, oh, Chappelle and Bill
Uh,
Burr and blah, blah. I'm always like, oh man, I just did a couple of shows with
with a guy
Tom
that was, yeah.
Clark and he was phenomenal.
I
Okay,
just
okay,
did one with
yeah,
Trevor Klumpner, and he was amazing. He was funny as shit. Oh, I'm sorry.
exactly. It's those cool people, the cool hangs in your life. Like they can be great independently, you can be fans independently, but when they're your friends and you work with them, you're almost rooting for those local and those like independent artist comics more than you are the big timers. And you're like, check out these guys. Don't check out the people who
Yeah,
already have money. Check out the ones who need you to
right.
get tickets to their shows.
Well, we don't have a lot of time left, so I want to make sure, Eric, that we cover everything that you want to talk about,
You
and
got
then
it.
we're gonna close with your comedy minute. But please take the next couple of minutes and make sure that we cover everything. We covered the merchandise. We covered Instagram is probably the best place to check you out. Shows upcoming. Anything that you want to talk about now, please do.
For sure. I do have a lot of fun shows coming up. I'm staying pretty local to my beautiful California area for the
Right.
next couple months. I'm here mostly in April and May, but come June, July, hit the road. I'm going to be in New Mexico. I'm going to be in Arizona, hitting Oregon. Going to be in, I put not just Alberta, Canada, but I'm doing North and South Alberta, Canada. So wherever you are in Alberta, you can catch me in the North or the South.
Okay.
Gonna be in Washington, like I said, Oregon, kind of traveling all around the Southwest, the West Coast this year. Hopefully, more stuff next year. But I would love to come and see you, or I would love if you came out, saw me to the show, and let me know you saw me in the Comedy Minute. I don't know if we're going to charge you more or give you a hookup, but either way, we'll pay it forward somehow if you did.
Wait a
If you saw
second.
me on this, you
Wait a
pay double.
second. Wait a second. I'm gonna have to pay more. I may have to pay more.
You know what? Just for you, only 150%. All right, just 50% more, not double. I take it back. I take it back.
Jeez, man. And I'm having you on this show for what reason? I'm being nice to you for what reason?
Hey man, I
No,
just came to talk about the
no,
music
look,
industry again.
listen, I think it's great. Can I ask you, and this may be wrong, and if it is, I'll edit it out. Does your wife go with you on these when you go on tour?
Great question. I love her so much, and because I love her so much, I only take her on the nice ones. All right.
Yeah.
If Erik Escobar is performing at a dive bar in a basement and his comedy condo is the alley, you know what,
Yeah.
babe? You can stay home for this one. But if
Yeah.
I'm at a nice casino, they're putting me up in a nice room, there's a pool. Hey, let's bring the wife. Let's have a good time.
Right. Okay. Sounds good. Well, look, we're just about out of time. I only have the free version of Zoom, so let's hit your comedy minute. Do you have something for me?
Ooh, the thing that makes me laugh all the time. Is
Yeah,
that what you're looking for?
anything. It doesn't matter.
Anything. All right. The thing that I want to put out there, I was thinking about this earlier. I like a lot of weird comedy. I like Tim and Eric. I still watch a lot of like Buster Keaton, watch a lot of Laurel and Hardy. That's my dad's
Okay.
influence. But I love a guy named Nathan Fielder. And if there is one thing you're going to YouTube today, Nathan Fielder did a little bit back when he was doing comedy in Canada where he interviews a laughing club. And a laughing club is a group of people who just come together and laugh. And the
Right.
main guy tries to make stoic Nathan Fielder laugh. And it's one of my favorite things. I watch it probably once a month. Sometimes I'll
Right.
be sad on the toilet. I'll pull it up and it'll be a great afternoon.
Yeah,
Look up Nathan Fielder Laughing Club and just
I
bask in the
will.
laughter, bask in the glory of it.
I'll share with you one of mine is Letterman had a woman on, Rena Smaha and her monkeys.
Oh, what a name. Smaha.
Rena Smaha and her monkeys. And I'll tell you what, all you got to do is type in Letterman and the monkeys. And man, that's comedy gold for me because Letterman is just, well, you have to love Letterman. I love Letterman. So,
I was a
that,
Letterman guy. A lot of my
yeah,
friends growing up, they were like, "Oh, my parents watched Leno." I'm like, "My parents watch Dave."
no,
I stay up
not
till the
me.
top 10, fall asleep. I'm the happiest 7-year-old there is.
Well, cool, man. I really enjoyed having you. I'm going to stop the recording. Thank you so much for being here. You're fantastic. And I'll be in touch. What we'll do is we'll catch up in a few months. We'll see, maybe catch up on the road or something.
I would love that, Scott. Appreciate you. Love
Okay.
you. Thank you to the
Hang
Comedy
tight.
Minute.
Hey, hang tight for a second. I want to stop the recording.